So just one announcement from me before we get into the theme for today, and that is a reminder to everyone on this call, our wonderful curators, to make sure that by the end of this year, you are claiming all of your continuing medical education credits or whatever the equivalent is for whatever profession you're in. Make sure you're doing that by the end of this year. If you need guidance on how to be doing that, we've got all the details up on the ClinGen website. We can put the information for that in the chat as well. But as we're about to celebrate on the call today, you do a wonderful amount of work as volunteers for us as ClinGen, and this is one small way that we're able to help give back to you in some way, being able to claim credits for all of the work you're doing. But that leads me into the theme of our meeting for the final meeting of the Biocurator working group for this year, and what has now become sort of a tradition that we use this last call of the year as an opportunity to thank and really celebrate all of you, our wonderful biocurators who volunteer your time and really the people that make the work that ClinGen does possible. So we're joined today by Courtney Thaxton, who wears many hats within ClinGen, but joining today in her capacity, I guess, as the chair of the steering committee to give an update on all of the wonderful work that ClinGen has done this year and highlight and thank you all as the biocurators who have done that work. So I will hand over to Courtney. A quick note before I do, our next meeting is meant to fall on December 25th. Obviously, we've cancelled that for the holidays, so we'll come back again in the new year on January 14th.
Great. Thank you so much, Alicia and Kazong, for the wonderful welcome. And as I said, we'll go through a year in review, and it's just celebrating all the accomplishments that you all as biocurators, coordinators, and the rest of expert panel members have made in ClinGen over this past year. And so first off, I just want to kind of show you a preemptive of what's to come in the new year. So you've been so used to looking at this particular infographic for years now, and it's changing, and it's changing for a very good reason. We wanted to be able to recognize now two of our curation activities, which is pharmacogenomics and somatic cancer that had been around a while, but these are also now what we call affiliate grants. So they have their own separate U24s as part of what we have as the larger ClinGen consortium. So be on the lookout in 2026 for our new infographic for that, and we're very excited to be able to recognize these different groups and all the biocurators for them. Just as usual, I'm going to go through each of the goals that ClinGen has for our consortium. So we want to aggregate genomic health. We want to have our ClinGen curations performed, disseminate that information, and hopefully improve patient care through genomic medicine. And so we'll go through each one of these and just show what's been happening over the past year. So one of the things we want to think about in aggregating information is we do partner with ClinVar, or clinical variant interpretations that are part of NIH, or the National Institutes of Health. And so over the past year in 2025, we've now seen the accumulation of over 4.2 million unique variants within ClinVar. We've seen an increase in 35% in the records submitted. Again, those unique variation records have risen by 35%. When we think about unique variation records from 3-star or expert panels, that 3-star says, guess what? That's you all in the ClinGen variant curation expert panels that get to step 4 approved, submit at the 3-star status. So we can see there's an increase in 15%, which a lot of that is coming from the efforts of you all in the ClinGen variant curation expert panels. And then when we think about total submitters, that has increased. And we do know that a lot of the work that you all are presenting and bringing into ClinGen, not only for our curations, is also enhancing your ability to go and share your information on ClinVar. So thank you for doing that. And we know that several of these increases in submitters and records are really coming from you all individually with your institutions and your groups, and being able to submit that information out for the public. And so over the past year, ClinGen has, not ClinGen, ClinVar has increased to having submissions from 94 countries. So they have 3 new countries this year, which are Honduras, Tanzania, and Zimbabwe. So great to see that there are more records and more countries that are participating in this effort and sharing information for everyone. We also have this activity called the ClinGen Curation of ClinVar. And so this is really where we look over potential discrepancies within ClinVar and help to try to resolve them. So over 2025 in this effort, we have seen almost 24,000 records that have been reviewed. That's an 83% increase since January 2025. And again, that's over the launch date of 2023. They've also flagged over 5,500 records in ClinVar when we think about those discrepancies that need to change. And again, a majority of them may be no change needed, but you can see that 19% of them have had conflicts resolved based on this activity, which is really great when we think about reducing discrepancies in ClinVar. We also have Genome Connect, which is ClinGen's patient registry. And so this is another area where we help to engage patients in providing information and sharing their genetic information that can be used not only in ClinGen, but with the public. They support the Genome Connect publishing all of this information to ClinVar so that it's transparent again for people to use. We can also use it now in gene curation expert panels for curation by using ClinVar IDs. And of course, the variant curation expert panels have always been able to use this information. So in 2025, they have over 13,000 patients that have engaged in this data sharing process. That's a 20% increase from last year at this time. And they have almost 13,000 individuals enrolled in their Genome Connect IRB. So really great work. They do also partner with 10 external registries so that they can continue to have this patient engagement and data sharing. And you can see all of the information that they use as consenting, as well as uploading those testing reports, providing health history, de-identifying shared data, and connecting with others. They also work to potentially update some of the information that they are giving based on variants that are identified. And so please, when we think about expert panels being contacted by anyone from our Genome Connect partners here, definitely make sure you're looking at helping to resolve some of these updates that can occur. We also have our ClinGen allele registry. So this is where we are able to register alleles and get identifiers to use for our curation, but it's also something used by the broader community. And this is a way that we, again, aggregate information about variants, where they're found, which could be PMIDs, and just bring in different resources like Nomad, ClinVar, etc., to help really our community, but as well as ClinGen, be able to curate. And so what we've seen over the past year is we have now increased by 7% and have 3.1 billion variants registered. And yes, that's billion, not million. So a pretty nice increase. I think it was 2.93 at the end of last year. So we're seeing the number of registered variants increase. Oftentimes this is from individuals out in the community rather than ClinGen itself. And that just presents us with more opportunities to look at different variations when we begin to score information. Those are usually those canonical allele identifiers. They also issue what is a protein identifier. So when we cannot resolve what the actual mRNA change is, there are also copy number variants here that we can register, and they are starting to work on the HLA and PGX. We'll go through that later with different activities and frameworks moving up. The nice thing is that the ClinGen allele registry, or CAR, does have weekly updates from ClinVar with automated new registration. So anytime there is a new registered variant within ClinVar, we will automatically register it with a ClinGen canonical allele ID or one of these others as appropriate. And then again, we have also brought in dbSNP RSIDs, and associations are extended to include all the reference alleles. And so when we think about the registry usage and what we've seen, we have seen some substantial growth when you look over the history of it for the past 5 years. And then not only the number of UI requests, which is people coming to the website, but the substantial increase you can see is API requests. So we have many different systems that become from different curation systems. It can become from different diagnostic systems that are using our ClinGen allele registry. And again, you can see 97,000 UI and 24 million API requests were happening just between July and September of this year. And so a lot of this aggregation of information for you to use for curation is supported by ClinGen's data platform working group. And so just to give you a little bit of taste of what they've been working on in this last year, obviously we are very focused in ClinGen on the American College of Medical Genetics and Genomics, the ClinGen, the AMP, and the CAP Sequence Variant Classification version 4, SVCV4. So lots of acronyms there, but I'm sure you all are familiar with this. And in thinking about this change that we're going to have to variants in SVCV4, variant curation, excuse me, and going to that semi-quantitative metric, obviously ClinGen needs to do a lot of updates, not only on its data model, but our system. So this is just telling you how we've been working through on the data model, how we've worked with GA4GH and our other genomic standards that are being set when we want to reference a variant and reference data for the data model. So really great work going on here. They have also worked on standardization support for curation evidence. And so you can see how, again, going to governing bodies that are trying to put out a lot of the standards for people to use within genomic medicine, that GA4GH, and we are Genomic Knowledge Standard Community, and we're a driver project for that. So you can see all the exceptional work between ClinVar, Nomad, and MAVE-DP for those knowledge standards and how we are going to be able to implement and update things, especially what we call this variant representation or verse. That's really a computational way to figure out, right, a different variant and be able to share that information through computers. Also phenopackets and ClinPGX within this different area. So very exciting when we think about this and how we can share our data and not only aggregate it from others, but disseminate and share our data for other resources. Again, that ACMG AMP ClinGen standard for the sequence variant classification, or SVCV4. ClinGen has worked in our systems and teams, especially at the Baylor College of Medicine, to create a pilot calculator. This is currently in use. It is being beta tested and feedback as they are working through, and they, meaning this whole larger group, coming out to publish the SVCV4 standards. And so I'm very excited that we have this calculator to help present for laboratories and ClinGen use moving forward. What you can see is that currently we are in the phase 2 of the pilot, and that there are 38 laboratories with approximately 110 individuals over different countries, 4 different ones participating. And what they have to do is have 30 required variants in 3 sets. And again, as of October of this year, there were 661 variant classification records in the pilot calculator. And so you can see a little bit of the workflow and data model that was contributing to this calculator here. So hopefully really great work that's coming out, yet to come for you all to use, not only in ClinGen, but obviously in your other roles that you have where it may be applicable. And so, as I mentioned before, ClinGen is driving the genomic knowledge data sharing projects through GA4GH. And so we have really worked on advancing that verse 2.0 products and to support ClinGen evidence and knowledge as we move out. You can see the paper here that is published as part of Nomad, and again, working on gene validity, full data, and versioning in a trial release. So what you can expect within the coming years is that you will see the different versioning for gene curation expert panels and those gene curations being published to the website so people can see how the different curations have performed through time. And so moving on to talk about ClinGen curation, right? What you all have been doing as expert panel members across different groups over the past year. So starting with gene disease validity, we can see that we are over 3,300 gene disease validity curations currently as of today. And that's a 14% increase from last year. So really increasing the amount of curation. So we thank all our gene curation expert panels and biocurators, experts, and coordinators for really helping to make this progress over the past year. Also within 2025, we have launched 2 new gene curation expert panels, which are male infertility and the neurovascular group. What's great is that, hopefully in all of these gene curations and seeing this work, if we think about OMIM and they're saying about 5,000 genes are associated with monogenic disease, we are really making our way towards curating all of the genes that have been associated with monogenic disease right now. So please continue this great and fantastic work. It's really important for the community. Moving on still with gene curations, we do work with GenCC and submit to that. It's part of ClinGen. And so over the past year, we can see that they have over 24,000 submitted classifications with over 5,500 classified unique genes with submissions and 16 different submitters here. And these are all nice increases in the number of individuals that are actually coming to GenCC supporting and submitting information. Moving on to variant curation expert panels and looking at the progress here, we have now increased the number of variants that have been published to the eRepo, presumably also to ClinVar as well, but this is taken from the eRepo statistics. So over 11,700 variants, which is a 33% increase from last year at this time. So really amazing work from our variant curation expert panels and their biocurators. We have 80 total VSEPs currently in various stages of approval. 6 new VSEPs were Step 1 approved in 2025. So really great to see the expansion of different areas of VSEPs with genes to specify. There are 3 that are applying, potentially more. Also, 37 VSEPs are what we currently have with complete approval, meaning Step 4 approval, and they can go and submit to the eRepo and ClinVar variant curations. 4 new Step 4 approved within 2025, and those include the X-linked inherited retinal dystrophy, the potassium channel arrhythmia, ABCA4, and antibody deficiencies VSEPs. So a round of applause for all of those groups, their biocurators, as well as their experts and coordinators, and working to get to that Step 4 approval for these 4 groups, as well as the remaining 37 or 33 other groups that are publishing, and you can see all of the work on our evidence repository here and be able to get to all of the information. So when we think about our variant curation interface and gene curation interface, just to be able to see the user growth that has happened over the last few years. So you can see there is over 4,200 individuals that are registered users. Again, some of them you can see the ClinGen curators, but there has been a significant increase in non-ClinGen curators. So that means individuals externally coming to use most likely the variant curation interface, because that's what's open to all. Which is really great because that means they're submitting information that you all as variant curation expert panels can use as appropriate for your curations. Also within this last year on the variant curation interface side, they are having preparations for the upcoming sequence variant classification, or that SVCV4 standard. So just know we are here to help support you all as biocurators, coordinators, and as expert panel group members as we go through this transition process. The other thing they have added is links for automated hypothesis annotation. So you already have the links where you can see where baseline annotators from our community curation are adding in annotations about specific variants. But this is starting for when we can have some automated annotations made through AI and machine learning processes. For gene curation interface, we now have support for the somatic mosaicism mode of inheritance. This was really to help with the new somatic vascular anomalies GSEP and to be able to curate and publish. This mode of inheritance is open to all GSEPs, certainly, but it was really important for that particular GSEP to move forward. Also, we've had the Nomad V4 data display for different variants, so you can go get additional information when you're in the gene curation interface about a specific variant so that we can understand what is the current maximum allele frequency. Do you want to apply a score of 0 or any other score based on that particular Nomad data? So really nice. And the other thing within this group that's at Stanford is they are working on launching the HLA curation interface, and that is part of the efforts that we have through the RAD CDWG, but just in general, when we think about having multigenic types of curations. And so that is on track to launch at the end of 2025. So it'll be really exciting for you all that are biocurators as part of those groups that will be using this HLA curation interface. And so the criteria specification registry is what many of the VSEPs, all of the VSEPs actually are using to be able to specify and record their adaptations to the ACMG's sequence variant classification criteria, which is currently the V3 mode. And so what we can see here is that there are 197 gene disease specifications in various stages of VSEP approval. So amazing work from our VSEPs and those groups that they are continuing to move forward with several different genes that are going to be important for our clinical community to have specifications. At this point, 114 specifications are approved and available in the C-SPEC registry. So for you all to use, for anyone out in the public to use. So really great work. Again, when we think about the C-SPEC registry as an interface for external individuals to download the information that you as expert panel groups are publishing and working on, we can see that there has been increases, constant and consistent increases, right, with the page views on the UI. But again, when we think about the individuals that are using this data, that is also increasing over time. So moving on to our dosage sensitivity group, we can see that there are over 4,000 total dosage sensitivity curations that have been published, and that's a 4% increase from last year's time. They have evaluated over 1,600 genes and 516 genomic regions. This is around 3 specific subgroups in dosage sensitivity, but they have recently launched a biallelic loss of function new subgroup. So that's a really exciting group that is coming along, and we think it will really help gene curation expert panels in the future. So excited to see what they begin to publish within the new year. Moving on to our clinical actionability group, you can see the number of reports and topics that they have moved through the past few years here. So definitely take a look at all of these lovely increases. They also have almost 600 actionability reports now. That's an increase of 5%. And you can see the individual ones between adult and pediatric actionability assertions. Not only that, when we think about their actionability knowledge repository, so this is something you access to see the data and information that is being curated across actionability curation groups. They have had an increase of 15% for their page views to over 15,000 views this year, and their users has increased to 10%. So there's definitely a lot of interest in individuals getting this information about actionability reports. Also within our actionability group, they are working on their polygenic risk score and their population screening frameworks, as well as moving on to manuscripts and papers to be published. So please have a look out in 2026 for these particular papers and frameworks. They may be really important for you all to use within your other clinical or institutional backgrounds aside from ClinGen. And then also to continue ensuring alignment with the contemporary efforts. They do work with eMERGE, ACMG, and the population screening working group. So just showing how members of this group are continuing to participate in other areas and consortiums and making sure that they align with their current guidance. Also, as a part of a modernization of the actionability curation interface in that knowledge repository, the Baylor team, development team as part of ClinGen, has changed some versioning support that they have. They've also created new evidence summary reports. We'll look on the next slide. And for the future, they do plan to move all legacy components to a new framework. So if you were to go to clinicalgenome.org right now, pick your favorite gene. If it has an actionability report, you can click into it, and this would be the lovely new report that you will see, really coming in and cleaning in things, making it more accessible to you all. So I really encourage you to go see this, and thank you so much to our actionability curators, their groups, experts, coordinators, as well as the Baylor team in updating the ACI and the actionability knowledge repository to have and support these new reports. For our somatic cancer grant, as we said, we added to our info grant that they have been doing exceptional work as they've been working through what we call our SC VSEPs or somatic cancer VSEPs over the past few years. And so since last year, they have had the NTRAC SC VSEP advanced to step 4. So they are working on their step 4, and that will be our first SC VSEP that will get through the 4-step approval. So that is on track for 2026, and really excited and thank all of the individuals, especially biocurators that are working as part of this group to help move them forward. There are also 6 SCV steps that have advanced to step 3. You can see those markers here. And then we have the EGFR SCV step advanced to step 2. So really wonderful work for this group as we move forward. They continue to work with not only ClinGen on as an SCV step, but they do publish or will publish once they get to that step 4 into Civic. And the nice thing is that Civic has now integrated with ClinVar so that they can begin to publish all of their assertions that they have on specific somatic variants within that resource, very similar to our variant curation expert panels that work on germline submissions. And so pharmacogenomics, we continue to expand what we are doing for the integration of pharmacogenomics. But if you go to clinicalgenome.org right now, you can see that we do integrate a lot of the information that we have from PharmGKB and CPIC. And so there are 754 combined gene drug pairs that you can get information from and be able to look and see how those are harmonized across different curation activities like gene variant, et cetera, for your favorite gene. So again, be on the lookout in the new year as we begin to integrate even more with the pharmacogenomics area, as well as I said, CPIC and PharmGKB. What we do have as part of ClinGen in this integration is a Pharmacogenomics Interpretation Committee. So they are currently working on their gene drug clinical validity framework, and they have aligned that pretty nicely with the ClinGen Gene Disease Clinical Validity Framework. This framework development is in its final stages. So again, this might be another coming soon in 2026, and a look out for that framework and those papers as they move forward, which is really great because that will help these specific curation groups to start to move forward and publish more of the reports that you see. Again, analogous gene drug clinical actionability framework is currently in progress, and a framework and standard operating procedure and manuscript are being developed and drafted at the same time. And so they are continuing to expand their pharmacogenomic representation across clinical domains and expert panels. So we know that there are several now, like the G6PD VSEP, where we do have members who are from our PGX community, as well as on our germline variant curation expert panel. So really great to see this growth as we are integrating more across curation activities. So moving on to dissemination and how we give our information out to the public for use. You can see one of the ways that we try to engage the public is through our website, right? That's the number one way, but we also try to do this through different social media accounts. And so thus far in 2025, website users have come from 130 different countries. And when last reported at the end of October, these were the top 10 countries that were looking and using our website data. So I hope to, if you want to see this presentation again on December 19th, when I give it, have some updated figures for you here. We can also see that our annual web traffic to our clinicalgenome.org website, we've had over 1.6 million visits so far this year, from almost 300,000 users and 5 million page views. So again, seeing the really big growth in the number of visits coming to clinicalgenome.org over the years. The other thing just to highlight is we continue to expand our social media reach through LinkedIn. This was only launched 2 years ago, and we are approaching 7,000 followers. So thank you all for not only participating in ClinGen, but also for connecting with us with LinkedIn. That also helps us to grow our volunteer base and all of the number of participants that we get into ClinGen. Speaking of our social media and LinkedIn, we did launch several social media campaigns annually, but in this past 2025 year, you can see some of the campaigns we led at the ACMG meeting in March in 2025, as well as ASHD in October of 2025. So really highlighting the exceptional work that's coming out from all of our curation groups, being able to give their pictures, their posters, their presentations, and get more and more engagement from the community. We also did several community-centered highlights. So during Rare Disease Day on February 28th, we also had a campaign just to, again, highlight this rare disease and how we work on this in ClinGen. We've also had these sporadic member highlights. So if any of you, especially ClinGen expert panel coordinators, want to highlight any specific person for the work that they are doing that is exceptional, please let the C3, the ClinGen Community Curation Working Group, know. We're happy to do these campaigns. Again, we can see the Actionability did a volunteer appreciation for all of their curators. And we also put out a lot of the publications that we have just to make it aware to you all, but the rest of the community, of new publications coming out of ClinGen's working groups, expert panels, and the consortium as a whole. We also take this time to be able to alert individuals of any workshops that are happening. So one that will be coming up in January 2026, and if you all are interested, it is ClinGen and PaperEye will have a workshop that they are giving to talk about, I believe it's ACMG AMP guidelines, variant interpretation, etc. And so really nice way for us to run these campaigns and again, increase our awareness across the whole world, but also to collaborate and link with more people. So some of the events that ClinGen has either participated in or who has actually supported over 2025. We did hold a workshop in the Human Genome Meeting in South Africa this year in 2025 so that we can review ClinGen tools and how to use them for all of the membership there. We've also participated in the NHGRI FAIR workshop. That was a workshop from NHGRI funded resources to come together to share experiences, figure out how we emphasize fair data, and just how can we integrate and link our data across these resources, which was really great. There was also the Clin PGX CPIC PGRN joint conference this last year. And so this was a way to have clinical practice education to advance pharmacogenomic science and clinical implementation. Also, ClinGen is a global core biodata resource, and as part of that resource and sustainability, the GCBRs all got together, every resource, which I think is over 50 now, to be able to discuss sustainability efforts and tactics. So we want to maintain ClinGen, and we all appreciate your support and things, and we are just trying to find ways that we can continue to support the efforts that we are having across this consortium as a whole. And then finally, as another highlight, we have the Somatic Variant Interpretation Unconference that was held during the VIC CGC Civic ClinGen Cancer Genomics Consortium this past year, and they focused developing community consensus on data standards for the interpretations of variants in cancer, engaging more clinical experts for curation, and enhancing the integration and interoperability of resources. And then, of course, we couldn't do this without any of our volunteers. And so the Community Curation Working Group has been able to see a 37% increase from over this past year in the number of individuals that are responding to our survey, representing 97 countries and or territories. So in 2025 alone, we have increased by at least 6 different countries, and you can see them here. So we are expanding our reach across the globe. We're filling in some of those gaps. I'm really excited to do that. As part of this effort, we have trained 2,500, over 2,500 individuals have gone on to complete their training, which is an increase in 7% from last year or over this past year. Excuse me. Baseline annotation is one of our other curation activities that we do provide for individuals. And so we thank them and hope you are on this particular call as well. While you may not be on a variant curation expert panel itself and attending those calls, you are providing valuable information about annotating the literature about the data elements that are important for all ClinGen expert curation activities, gene, variant, somatic, etc. So you can see over this last year, we have expanded to have 25 annotation protocols that review 76 genes for annotation that are targeted over our variant curation expert panels. And at this time, we have generated over 24,000 annotations in total. Those are all linked in our variant curation interface for use by ClinGen, VCEPs, but also anyone externally as well. And so thinking about the productivity that we are having from our expert panels and curation working groups, ClinGen to date has over 148 publications that have been published, and they have been cited over 17,000 times. This is an increase of 25% from last year at this time. You can see the most recent papers that have been published within the last 3 months include updates from our skeletal disorders GCEP, updates when we think of TP53 variant curation expert panel, the HBOT variant curation expert panel, kidney groups, etc. And just wanting to highlight that one of these papers that has been published recently won a top 5 papers in best of 2024, 2025 in the American Journal of Human Genetics. So thank you all for the tremendous work that you do. The curations make a difference. These publications make a difference to the whole clinical community. And so this is just a representation of the fantastic work that you are all doing for this consortium. And so none of this would be possible without you all. And so just a huge thank you to you all and our rest of our ClinGen community. We are approaching 3,000 active members from over 1,100 institutions in 74 countries. And I know you'll say, but wait a minute, the C3 has 97. Well, we haven't trained all those people and they haven't joined all of our groups yet. And so I'm hoping that we can continue to see this number rise. But what we can see is we've had 4 more countries really come into active participation in ClinGen. And so, continue to spread the word, biocurators, to your colleagues, to your family, to other members to help really think think about whether they want to support ClinGen and come and curate for us. So thank you all very much. And I wish you all the best of holiday season and also a new year. And I'm happy to take any questions if you want or have any.
I have a question.
Yep.
So, is there room for people from other expertises other than just straight genetics and genomics to be contributing as baseline annotators? For instance, I know people who are interested in their therapists or psychologists, they're interested in some of the genetic bases of these things, and they are qualified to review that literature.
Absolutely. We have citizen scientists. In fact, we have one person who is a retired mechanical engineer that has generated almost 800 annotations. So I've also taught high school students to do it. So we will take anyone in baseline annotation. It's a way for them to have a stepping stone, right? And especially if there are individuals that say, you know, I'm really interested in this, but I'm not sure that I would fully understand this, expert panel, how we do the curations. This is that nice stepping stone. You learn to read the literature, you learn to extract it. You're going to learn what's important, what's that consideration, and ultimately you are contributing to the efforts that we have. So absolutely, just encourage them to go to the volunteer survey, sign up for the baseline annotation, and we can get them trained and started. Awesome question. Thank you, Naomi.
If there's not any other questions, though, I think we can give everyone 20 minutes back to their day, which I think at this time of year is even more appreciated. But thank you so much, Courtney, for that overview. And like, I'm employed by ClinGen and I forget just how much we do. And so it's always nice to be reminded of exactly what's happening across all the different domains. So super exciting. Sounds like even more exciting things planned for 2026.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you again to everyone on this call and to all of our curators worldwide, really, for all the work you've been doing. And happy holidays to everyone. And we will see you back in 2026.
Everyone.